we are talking about the cardiovascular disorders. So, cardio means heart, okay, and vascular means blood vessels. So, let me just clarify this thing to you that cardio heart, of course, we know that there is one heart that we have in the middle left side of our body in the thoracic region, and heart has got four chambers. I'm going to explain you the functions of all those four chambers. And vascular means blood vessels. When we talk about, acha, by the way, you're going to get this PPT that I'm sharing, okay? After the webinar, you're going to get it. So either I mail it to your faculties or we'll put it on the blending learning application. So, but then of course I teach you much more than, I teach you things from here and there. So you can keep your pen and copy or notebook, whatever ready handy so that you can keep taking notes as and when required. So yeah, I was talking about vascular now. So vascular means blood vessels. So primarily in the body, there are two kinds of blood vessels. One is called artery and one is called vein. Arteries carry the oxygenated blood, that is blood which has oxygen in it, and veins carry the deoxygenated blood. So what I'd like to explain to you that all the arteries and all the veins of course carry the kind of blood that I mentioned, but there is one artery and one type of vein which does ulta, totally opposite to what I've told you. So there is something called pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery does just the opposite of this. Pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood and pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood. So this does absolutely opposite of actually what the other arteries and veins do. And pulmonary artery is the connection between your heart and the lungs. Okay, so obviously all that deoxygenated blood from the body is taken from the heart by the pulmonary artery. So it's a deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated means carrying CO2, carbon dioxide. So that is taken from the heart to the lungs, and lungs is going to purify it. It will take away the carbon dioxide from that pulmonary artery blood, and it will give oxygen, and that oxygenated blood will be carried by pulmonary vein from the lungs back to the heart. Okay, so except for pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein, all the other veins and arteries in the body, they all carry oxygenated blood is artery and deoxygenated blood is veins. So whenever there is a disorder in these two, okay, that's what we call as the cardiovascular disorders. Of course, I can completely control it and reverse it, and that's the whole idea of us spending time together today and tomorrow. Okay, now let's do what are cardiovascular diseases. Yeah. So, cardiovascular disease, also called the heart diseases, is a class of diseases that involves the heart and the blood vessels. So, in the bracket, I've mentioned arteries and veins. So, how obviously, if the deoxygenated blood is coming and it is giving it to the vein, normally oxygenated blood is coming from the arteries, and arteries will give the oxygenated blood to the tissues from there. So, the junction between arteries and veins is called capillaries, which are very very tiny, and every artery breaks down into very very small vessels which passes through the tissue and gives the deoxygenated blood to the veins. Okay, so the junction between these two is called capillaries. So it says cardiovascular disease refers to any disease that affects the cardiovascular system, principally cardiac disease, vascular diseases of the brain and kidney, and peripheral arterial disease. So I'll just like to explain this to you. So it's not just about, like the heart tissues and all the arteries and veins are actually connecting to the heart and through the heart, definitely, but they are also going to the kidneys, and blood is also taken to the brain, and it goes upwards, right? Heart is down there and the brain is up there. So anti-gravity blood has to get pushed from the heart till the brain, and sometimes there is a problem in that passage of the blood because there would be a lot of plaque that gets deposited in the arteries, and because of which there could be problems. So I'm sure you all have heard about the stroke. or which causes paralysis of one side of the body. So that is the problem of cardiovascular disease, definitely, but happens in the cerebral artery, the artery which is carrying the blood from the heart till the cerebrum, that is till the brain, where all the processing happens. So hence it could be that, and it could also be a problem of the kidneys, because again the blood is carried to the kidneys so that it can get filtered and all the toxins from that blood can get removed. Sometimes there are problems in that region also. So wherever the problems is in the arteries or in the veins or in the heart, wherever, that is where we say that the person is suffering from cardiovascular disease. So we are going to talk about different diseases, at length, but we don't have to go very, very deeply. Of course, I try and explain to you as much as I understand you guys should know, but understanding anatomy is very important as to how things function and how things build up in the body in terms of this fatty streaks and plaque and all. But our main work is to reverse these diseases with the diet. So my focus would always be on the diet and how diet is reversing these diseases, which you have to actually study more thoroughly. So we will do, today we are going to do only about anatomy and physiology mostly. So cardiovascular disease per se is actually the leading cause of death in the world, okay? Especially in India. Why in India? Because in India, genetically, there is a prevalence of central obesity. That means your tummy starts protruding out. We call apple-shaped obesity. You can call it central obesity, whatever. So when the tummy starts coming out, it is a sign that you have started developing the problems with your heart. And for those who are attending for the first time, I'm reiterating, it can be a revision for the others, that when you have a protruding belly or when you have the tummy which is protruding out, the way it happens in males, mostly in the male gender, it is a sign of 4 different diseases. Firstly, cardiovascular diseases. Secondly, hypertension, which is a high blood pressure. The third thing is insulin resistance, that is which leads to diabetes mellitus type 2. And the fourth one is called metabolic syndrome. So these are the 4 occurrences that will 100% happen when your tummy starts coming out. But it is not the tummy that girls have because of the deliveries of the babies. It is the upper abdomen, that is in the rib areas, and like a little above the navel, that area, if it starts coming out, that means you should immediately try and reverse it as soon as possible by exercise, by pranayam, by brahastika pranayam, or one can just do leg raises. I mean, I normally recommend leg raises to people in a difficult way, in the sense that I always tell that leg raise 15 degrees and 30 degrees and 45 degrees and 60 degrees and then 90, and stop for 5 seconds at each degree and bring them back likewise, and try and start with 2 rounds of this and try and take it to 10 and 15. As with advanced stages, you'll be able to do much more. That can put your tummy back in. And Kapalbhati is a wonderful way to put back the tummy as well. That's a kind of yogic exercise. So whichever way, we need to put it back. Otherwise, even God cannot save us from diabetes mellitus, hypertension, and a very high cholesterol and triglyceride, because that's definitely happening. And abhi I have not told you about the other problems that it does, the protruding belly, because it also causes the fatty liver. एंड फैटी लिवर का कोई और कॉज नहीं है. इट इज ऑलवेज द विसरल फैट जो विसरली डिपॉजिट होने के लिए आता है एब्डोमेन में, दैट like fat is made up of 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol. Like 1 fat unit is made up of 3 fatty acid and 1 glycerol. So before the fat deposits in your fat tissues, like whenever any kind of suppose you've had extra fat in your diet, or your liver has synthesized fat because you have eaten too many calories, okay, so whenever fat is depositing in your body, it will always bifurcate or catabolize or break down into 3 fatty acid and 1 glycerol. And those 3 fatty acids जो glycerol से अभी जुड़े हुए नहीं है, अलग अलग हो गए हैं दोनों, so वो जो fatty acids 3 जो हुए हैं, they are called FFA, free fatty acids because they have become free from the glycerol. They have broken down from the glycerol. Earlier they were joined, so they were called triglyceride. Now they have broken down. So those free fatty acids actually which come to deposit in your visceral fat in your abdominal region, that goes to the liver, because liver is a very close by area to the area where they had come to deposit. As a result, so many FFAs or free fatty acid, when they go to the liver, they also cause fatty liver. And fatty liver ho gaya matlab degeneration of the liver has begun, and in prolonged stages, like in advanced stages, this even causes the cirrhosis of the liver and many other metabolic problems and physiological problems, because as you know, liver is called the brain of metabolism. All the nutrients that you eat, they all go to the liver, and the liver decides what to do with each nutrient. Okay, and imagine a spoiled liver, what is going to happen to our body? That's why when the liver and the kidneys start failing, then one dies. You know, there is no other option, there would be no other cure. So hence it is very important to not put on weight, especially the central obesity. So CVD comes under the umbrella of NCDs, non-communicable diseases. So I had spoken about non-communicable diseases at length in the last session when we were doing diabetes. The non-communicable means that cannot be communicated to the others by touch or through the fluids or something. So they are called non-communicable diseases, and all these diseases which are prevalent today, like diabetes or cancer or asthma or osteoarthritis or high cholesterol or gout or polycystic ovarian disorder, hypothyroidism, they all can come under the umbrella of NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases. So cardiovascular disease is also an NCD, non-communicable diseases, and it says that it is a grave problem of the developed and the developing countries. So our country is half of it underdeveloped and half of it developing, but still India has the highest number. Of course, like I told you last time, that India is also called the diabetic capital of the world, but now the incidences of central obesity and heart attacks in India have surmounted all the other countries, which is a very, very sad situation for a country which is still called underdeveloped or developing. So if you see, there is the graph here, the pie chart, which says that 57% of total deaths in India are because of heart attacks. That is, they are coming from cardiovascular diseases, and then comes the others like diabetes and diabetes se maine bataya tha, people don't die but they don't live either. So it is like you're hanging somewhere in the air, and there are other respiratory diseases which are the problem. So this is the chart that it says. So what's the learning from it is that 57% of the total deaths in India are happening because of heart attacks, because of the CVDs. And it says, the second paragraph, in India, the onset of cardiovascular disease is at an early age, which is actually very sad, because recently I met a person who's just 27-year-old and who had a stroke because of a high blood pressure. Imagine, at the age of 27, he's not even married, he's just started doing his own business, and but this is how it is. And we have a lot to reverse, and especially the lifestyle which is going wrong in the youth of today. They all sleep late, they eat a lot of junk from outside, उनका खाने का, सोने का कोई टाइमिंग्स नहीं होता है, स्मोकिंग बहुत ज़्यादा करते हैं. Smoking directly causes heart attack. There is no middle ground in it. Okay, there are so many people who are smoking in India. I think late night fashions is something which is so prevalent. People are sleeping late, they are waking up late. Again, one of the biggest reasons of cardiovascular disorders. People eating a lot of processed food like biscuits and chips and all the carbonated beverages and the bread. So all these things, and the use of trans fat made in all these things. Trans fat is nothing, but it's definitely going to deposit in your arteries, and it's going to make the lumen very, very small. Okay, so trans fat does no other. So trans fat is that vanaspati ghee, hydrogenated fat जिसको हम बोलते हैं, which is the replacement of the desi ghee. So in everything which is processed, and if it is coming from the market, it would be made in trans fat. Goes without saying. It cannot be made in normal oil, or it cannot be made in desi ghee. Desi ghee would be very costly, and the normal oil में बनी हुई चीजें बहुत जल्दी rancid हो जाती हैं. तो इसलिए processed food, जो chips होते हैं या biscuits होते हैं, उसमें trans fat ही डालना पड़ता है. There is no other way out because trans fat does not spoil, and it also does not let the, like increases the shelf life of the food and makes it very very tasty, and it is very economic. So these are the benefits of using trans fat. So all the processed food outside are going to be made with trans fat, and it says the onset is like more severe and the progression is rapid and more aggressive. So definitely it is like that. So it says the prevalence of these chronic diseases is showing an upward trend as there is a rapid change in the lifestyle and behavioral pattern favorable to the onset of the chronic diseases. So hence we see the number rising. Okay, so I'll just simplify this chart to you. I'm sure that it looks a bit complicated. So आप लोगों के पास अपना notebook होगा ना, तो आप उसमें एक heart को draw करो, ठीक है? Just draw a heart like in a normal rough manner. It's like a triangle. So just draw a heart. I'll make you do this exercise so that you will never forget that how does the function of heart happens. Okay? So have you made that heart there? Now divide it into four equal sizes. That heart divided into 4. मतलब एक लाइन आप vertical बनाओ, एक लाइन आप horizontal बीच में बनाओ. Done? Okay. Now the upper 2 chambers. One you can see on your left hand side, one chamber upper on the right hand side, and there will be 2 lower chambers, one on the left hand side and one on the right side. So अब हमारे पास 4 हार्ट के चैम्बर्स हो गए हैं. जो अपर वाले 2 चैम्बर्स हैं, they are called auricles, AURICLES. So just mark उनको ना आप लेबल करो. जो ऊपर वाला आपके हैंड में जो लेफ्ट साइड वाला अपर चैम्बर है, उसको राइट लेफ्ट ऑरिकल, और राइट वाले पे लिखो आप राइट ऑरिकल. क्विकली राइट इट. Left auricle, right auricle. Auricle is also called atrium. So when I had written your books, there I've written it. The name is atrium. 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 Okay, but both the names are correct. One of them either is not wrong. When I studied, it was auricles, but the world has started calling it atrium. So then in the books also I wrote atrium. So it is left atrium, right atrium, or left auricle or right auricle, one and the same thing. Okay. अब नीचे वाले 2 हैं, ठीक है? नीचे वाले 2 are called ventricles. So just label it left ventricle, right ventricle. Got it? Okay. So now the blood, deoxygenated blood. So we all know that our cells are provided with oxygen, and then carbon dioxide is picked up from there, and deoxygenated blood will come to the heart. Okay, so deoxygenated blood will come to the left auricle. Got it? So you draw on top of the 2 auricle, on the left auricle में ऊपर आप draw करो एक आरी है. Just understand first, okay? So जो left वाला जो auricle है ऊपर, उसमें सारा deoxygenated blood comes from all over the body, from the upper side of the body of the heart and the lower side. So heart के नीचे वाले हिस्से से deoxygenated blood आता है, और heart के ऊपर वाले हिस्से से, brain की side से, face से होता हुआ, neck से होता हुआ, then it comes to the left auricle. Okay, so from the down, from below the heart, all the deoxygenated blood will come through inferior vena cava. Inferior का मतलब नीचे से, superior का मतलब ऊपर से. So superior vena cava heart के ऊपर से deoxygenated blood लेके आएगा, and inferior vena cava heart के नीचे से deoxygenated blood लेके आएगा. तो इसलिए जो आपका left auricle है, जहाँ पे आपने वो chamber बनाया है, उसमें आप दो बनाओ, एक थोड़ा सा नीचे की तरफ से वेसल आ रहा है और एक ऊपर की तरफ से आ रहा है, and the blood from there is falling into, you know, your left auricle. So right, superior vena cava, एक छोटी सी ट्यूब बनाओ उसी ऑरिकल के ऊपर, जो उस पे आप लेबल करो as superior vena cava, और उसी के पास में एक और ट्यूब बनाओ जो थोड़ी सी नीचे की साइड से आ रही है, उस पे आप लिखो inferior vena cava. Vena is VENA, cava is CAVA.
బయట తొక్కాలి, అప్పుడే బాగుంటది. తొక్కినట్టు తెలియదు కానీ తగ్గుద్ది.
లేడీస్ సైకిల్ కావాలి.
అది లేడీ సైకిల్.
అబ్బో సొల్లు చెప్పుక, నాకు లేడీ బర్డ్ సైకిల్ కావాలి.
Got it? So now deoxygenated blood from inferior vena cava and superior vena cava has fallen into the left auricle. Okay, now the left auricle और उसके नीचे से वो connected होता है to the left ventricle. उसके बीच में एक छोटा सा डोर होता है, you can say minimal window. Okay, we call it valve, VALVE. So the blood from the left auricle which has come, which is deoxygenated blood, will now fall down, okay, into the left ventricle through that small flap which is called valve. So what will happen to that auricle? Now that auricle जो ऊपर जहाँ पे deoxygenated blood आया था, वो बहुत जोर से squeeze करता है. स्क्वीज करेगा मतलब नैरो हो जाता है, और उसमें से जो सारा डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड ऊपर आया था वो नीचे की तरफ गिरेगा उस वाल्व के थ्रू. ओके, सो इट हैज कम डाउन देयर, और अब all that has come down in the ventricle now. ठीक है, now ventricle will also squeeze. So as a result, all this deoxygenated blood which has come to the left ventricle will go through, उसमें से एक ट्यूब आप निकालो, ठीक है, will go through the pulmonary artery, उसमें से निकलेगी. ventricle के नीचे से एक pulmonary artery निकलती है which will take this blood to the lungs. अब left side पे आप lungs बनाओ, दो lungs बनाओ, ठीक है. अब ये pulmonary artery से सारा ब्लड जाएगा लंग्स में. दिस इज deoxygenated blood carrying carbon dioxide. Pulmonary artery is the artery through which the deoxygenated blood from the heart will go to both the lungs. थोड़ा इस लंग में जाता है, थोड़ा उस लंग में जाता है, आधा आधा, ठीक है, दोनों उसमें अब लंग्स में जाएगा. अब लंग्स में डिफ्यूजन के थ्रू प्यूरिफिकेशन विल हैपन. Okay, now this carbon dioxide which is there in that blood will be taken up by the bronchioles in the lungs, and it will go away. We will breathe it out. Okay, and oxygen that we have breathed in is going to come now, and it will oxygenate the same blood. CO2 गया, oxygen आया उसमें, ठीक है. अब ऑक्सीजनेट हो गया है ब्लड, अब वो दूसरी वो पल्मोनरी वेन से जाएगा राइट ऑरिकल में. आप बनाओ उसको, just take out two vessels from both the lungs and take it towards the left chamber of the heart, that is on the, I'm sorry, on the right side, the right auricle. right auricle में गिरता है pulmonary vein से. So the pulmonary vein will come from both the lungs to the right auricle. So now right auricle has got oxygenated blood. Now from there again there is a valve in between. From there the right auricle will squeeze hard so that all the blood is pushed down to the lower side in the right ventricle. So now oxygenated blood has come to the right ventricle. Now right ventricle will also squeeze. and all the blood from there will go into aorta. AORTA. Aorta.
Iota.
Okay, and from this aorta, the oxygenated blood is supplied to the entire body. Okay, now this cycle will start again. That again, oxygenated blood is going to all over the body, and again CO2 will be picked up, and through superior and inferior vena cava, it will come to the left auricle, and again from the left auricle, blood will go to the left ventricle. From there, through pulmonary artery, it will go to the lungs, and there CO2 will be given away, O2 will be taken, and with oxygenated blood through pulmonary vein will come back to the right side of the heart in the right atrium, and from right atrium through a valve is going to fall down into the right ventricle, and from there through the aorta it will be supplied to your entire body, each and every cell of your body. So your body is made up of more than 36 trillion cells. Now this oxygenated blood will go and supply oxygen to all the 36 trillion cells and keep them alive and functioning and living. Okay, so this is what the heart does basically. So I hope it's understood, because in this diagram it was looking a bit complicated. So I thought, let me just simplify, and then I made you do this exercise yourself so that you never get to forget it now. Because written word, the mighty sword of a pen, as we say, when we use it, we never forget the things. So yeah, I hope it is clear to you. Then we proceed, because if you understand, it becomes easier to kind of, okay, done. So we go to the next slide, and from the next slide we are going to study about like different diseases of the heart, because you should be clear, because patients come and tell us, ma'am, I'm suffering from bradycardia, I'm suffering from tachycardia, I have atherosclerosis, I have ischemic pain, I have angina pain, I've suffered a heart attack, all these things. So it should be very clear to you as to what these things are. So we'll study about them. Yeah. So these are all the abnormalities of the cardiovascular diseases that we are going to study. The first is arteriosclerosis. So there are two terms, atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. Okay, so we'll not confuse in them. Atherosclerosis basically means, so this is arterio. I'm talking to you about athero. So atherosclerosis basically means that in your arteries, you start depositing the fatty streaks, the fat that gets deposited on the internal walls of your arteries, and they make the passage narrower and narrower, because with the passage of age, this deposition becomes thicker and thicker. Okay, but this only happens in certain cases, like in people who are very sedentary lifestyle, who don't walk too much and all, in people who have a lot of meat, because the meat contains maximum amount of saturated fatty acid, especially the red meat. Okay, chicken wouldn't do that much damage, but mutton, beef and pork would, because they come under the head of red meat, and red meat is very high in saturated fatty acids. So yeah, that's going to do. Then again, in people who consume a lot of processed food like biscuits, breads and pizzas and all, because all these commercial breads and maida based things, they all इनका आटा गूंदने के लिए trans fat में गूंदता है इनका आटा. The dough of all these breads, it is made in trans fat, okay, so that they don't spoil and they taste also a lot better. So that trans fat also goes and deposits, and people with central obesity, they also have this problem of deposition of fatty streaks in the arteries. Why? Okay, it's $1 million question, so listen carefully. So how is central obesity linked to deposition or development of the cardiovascular diseases? Is because in our body there are chemicals called statins, STATINS. These statins actually control the cholesterol and the triglyceride level in our bodies. Cholesterol is not bad at all for the body. Cholesterol has many important functions. It's a nice nutrient, comes under the head of fat only, but it is a very nice nutrient. There are recommendations of a daily dose of cholesterol also that we should be having otherwise. So first thing that you have to remember is that cholesterol comes only from the animals. It never comes from the vegetarian source. even if you're taking coconut oil, or if you're taking whatever, walnuts or cashew nuts or coconut or palm oil, so people think that they're very rich in peanuts. So people say, oh, peanuts are very rich in cholesterol, or don't have cashews, they're very rich in cholesterol, or don't have coconut because it's very rich in cholesterol. No, they are not. Cholesterol is not present even 1%, 0.001% in any vegetarian source. It will come only from the animals for sure. So, since I told you that the human body is not made to eat meat, we don't have enzymes, we don't have the means to actually tolerate meat in our body. So, our body, like there is an RDA of cholesterol also. We recommend you to have a specific amount of cholesterol so that all the cholesterol wala functions in your body can happen. So although cholesterol actually इतना important होता है कि क्योंकि हमको एनिमल्स नहीं खाना होता है, तो हमारे लिवर में कोलेस्ट्रॉल की फैक्ट्री होती है और हमारा लिवर 600 to 800 milligram of cholesterol daily मैन्युफैक्चर करता है. Okay, so now the size of the liver is different in each of our bodies, right? हमारी अलग-अलग height है. Males have more height, females are short heighted, so the liver size is also different. Liver size varies from 700 grams to 1.1 kg. Okay, like अगर आप बहुत छोटे साइज के हो तो आपका liver 700 grams का भी हो सकता है. If you have a large body, your liver is going to be 1.1 kgs. So depending on the size of the liver and the requirement of the body, cholesterol manufacturing varies between 600 to 800 milligrams per day. तो इतना cholesterol हमारा liver बनाता है. इसके अलावा भी हमको cholesterol चाहिए होता है. अगर आप vegetarian हो तो हम recommend करते हैं आपको 252 to 300 milligram cholesterol dietary sources से लेना. I may recommend you to have 250 to 300 milligrams of cholesterol from the diet sources because cholesterol has damn important functions in the body. It makes the walls of your cells. Okay, so in your body we make lakhs and millions of cells on a daily basis. Every cell has got a cell wall and it is composed of cholesterol, ceramides, basically cholesterol. Then all your sex hormones and stress hormones are made up of cholesterol. So all the steroid based like testosterone, adrenaline, norepinephrine, like all these are cortisol. So they are all made up of cholesterol. So इनके लिए भी चाहिए होता है cholesterol. और इनके अलावा cholesterol is also important to be part of the brain cells. Then cholesterol is also important to synthesize vitamin D3. So you know that vitamin D3 when it falls, when the UV rays fall on the skin, it converts into 125 dehydrocholecalciferol. Okay, that cholecalciferol is cholesterol basically, when we talk about the structural component. So the structural component is cholesterol. So cholesterol is needed there also. So cholesterol is not a villain the way we have made it out to be, and high cholesterol in this cholesterol. Problem lies with our body's inability to handle that cholesterol. So we all have cholesterol in our body. We need to have, it's important, and that this chemical called statins, which release in our natural bodies, that handles the cholesterol. It does not allow more than a specific amount of cholesterol to be present in your blood. You know that blood cholesterol levels होते हैं ना normal. अगर 200 milligram per deciliter, like 200 milligram अगर blood cholesterol है तो बिल्कुल normal है. 180 है तो normal है. Anything above 200 becomes high. If you have it till 200, we consider you to be having a normal blood lipid profile. There's nothing to worry about it. Even till 240, it's okay. 200 normally 200 तक होना चाहिए. लेकिन in case अगर आपका हाई कोलेस्ट्रॉल रहता है तो 240 तक भी हम बहुत बॉर्डरलाइन कंसिडर करते हैं और उसको बिल्कुल एज अ बॉडी थ्रेट नहीं लेते हैं. 240 तक आजकल नॉर्मल होता है बिकॉज लाइफस्टाइल इतनी खराब है. तो 230 को भी हम नॉर्मली बोलते हैं आजकल. वैसे तो 200 तक नॉर्मल होता है. यू गाइज आर डाइट कंसल्टेंट्स. फॉर यू इवन 210 इज हाई. ओके, आई मीन यू हैव टू स्केयर द पेशेंट, अदरवाइज दे विल नेवर बी एबल टू रिड्यूस इट. इफ यू से ओह दिस इज वेरी नॉर्मल, आपको पता है 240 नॉर्मल है, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, लेकिन क्लाइंट को ऐसे ही समझाओ कि दिस इज अ बिग डील इफ यू हैव 240 एंड यू शुड ट्राई एंड लूज इट, लाइक हम कम करते हैं तभी वो कम करेंगे. जब तक डर नहीं आप क्रिएट करोगे ना उनके अंदर, तब तक क्लाइंट्स को डाइट कंट्रोल करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है बिकॉज पीपल आर सो मच इनटू फूड दीज डेज दैट इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू काइंड ऑफ काउंसिल देम टू रिवर्स सर्टेन हैबिट्स ऑफ theirs that they have been following for so many years. Like for a person who's smoking one packet of cigarette in a day, एक cigarette packet में 10 cigarettes होती है, तो अगर वो 10 रोज पी रहा है और उसका कोलेस्ट्रॉल लेवल 250 है, उसको तो आपको डराना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो वो बिल्कुल सिगरेट छूटती नहीं है लोगों की, because they are so badly addicted to nicotine which is there in the cigarette. They don't want to bring it down, you know. I mean, the body actually, again, as I told you, body becomes puppet to anything which is very wrong. So yeah, so what I mean to say is that cholesterol is healthy. Why I'm explaining to these, all these diseases mostly will come from a rise in the cholesterol and triglyceride levels, and this is what actually goes to cholesterol only when the statins level come down. So when you have central obesity ka action is that your statins come down. Okay, and when your statins come down, that is when there is nothing to handle this cholesterol and it keeps rising in your blood. If statins are normal, if you don't have central obesity or stress, okay, then statins will be taken care of. I mean, statins will release normally and they will cut down on they will remove the cholesterol from your blood, and they will convert into any other thing. You convert it into a healthier form of fat. But if you don't have statins, then you are in a soup. So cholesterol की जितनी medications होती है, वो what are they? They are just statins. Okay, they are statins. So all the cholesterol medicines basically are statins which your body can produce naturally. So our work, your work as a diet consultant is to make their bodies such that their bodies can start producing it. उसके लिए आपको weight loss कराना पड़ेगा, उसके लिए आपको omega-3 rich diet देनी पड़ेगी, उसके लिए आपको बहुत सारा फाइबर देना पड़ेगा, and fiber you have to give both soluble fiber also and insoluble fiber also, and you have to put them on a good lifestyle practice, like you have to make them quit smoking, you have to ensure that they are not sedentary, you have to ensure that they are consuming PUFA and MUFA and they are not consuming SFA and all this. So dietary part of it, of course, we are going to talk tomorrow, but just briefly telling you a bit about it so that you can actually totally kind of reverse the condition of no statins to a lot of statins in the body. You can do it by changing the diet and lifestyle for sure. And now the person need not be on medications anymore, and there are also certain functional foods, right? I told you about like garlic and all that we add to them so that they can actually control the cholesterol. So all those things together can reduce these problems of atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. So these depositions that happen, these are called atherosclerosis. These are all fat which is getting deposited in your internal arterial lumen, which are narrowing the lumen of your arteries. And if this fat has been there in your arteries for many number of years, then they start the older fat that has got deposited the earliest, that starts getting calcified. उसका कैल्सिफाई जो बहुत पुराना फैट होता है, जो आपने बहुत सालों पहले डिपॉजिट किया होता है आर्टरीज में, वो जो पुराना फैट है वो कैल्सिफाई हो जाता है, उसका कैल्सिफिकेशन हो जाता है. इसका मतलब है कि वो बहुत थिक एंड हार्ड हो जाता है, जैसे प्लास्टर ऑफ पेरिस देखा होगा आपने, जो पहले जमाने में फ्रैक्चर्स में कास्ट लगता था वाइट कलर का थिक सा, वैसे हमारे आर्टरीज हो जाते हैं बिकॉज हमारे फैट का कैल्सिफिकेशन हो जाता है. उस कैल्सिफिकेशन को बोलते हैं आर्टीरियोस्क्लेरोसिस. So there is a difference between arteriosclerosis and atherosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis is calcification of the older fatty plaque that got deposited. Plaque is PLAQUE. उसको आर्टेरियोस्क्लेरोसिस बोलते हैं. और एथेरोस्क्लेरोसिस होता है फैटी स्ट्रिक्स का डिपॉजिट होना और धीरे धीरे लेयर्स मोटी होती जाती है बिकॉज मोर एंड मोर फैट इज कमिंग एवरी डे टू गेट डिपॉजिटेड. सो द आर्टेरियल ल्यूमन या ब्लड के फ्लो होने का रास्ता जो होता है आर्टरीज में, वो कंटिन्यूसली नैरो 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 होता रहता है. और एक समय ऐसा आता है कि जब उसमें से जगह ही नहीं बचती है ब्लड को फ्लो करने की, और ऐसे में ब्लड आगे फ्लो नहीं कर पाता है. और ब्लड इज द कैरियर, यू नो दैट blood is a carrier of oxygen and nutrients. So जिस भी टिश्यू में वो आर्टरी जा रही है वहाँ पे ब्लड फ्लो नहीं होता है और वो टिश्यू डेड होने लग जाता है, जिसको नेक्रोसिस बोलते हैं. और वो मोस्टली हार्ट होता है अनफॉर्चुनेटली, जहाँ पे ब्लड फ्लो नहीं हो पाता है तो हार्ट का एक पार्ट डाइज बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एंड विच रिजल्ट्स इनटू फर्स्ट इश्कीमिया विच इज हार्ट में दर्द होता है और उसके बाद हार्ट अटैक हो जाता है जिसको कंजेस्टिव हार्ट फेलियर बोलते हैं बिकॉज ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई नॉर्मल नहीं हो पाई थी या कोरोनरी हार्ट डिजीज तो इस तरह से ये प्रॉब्लम होती है सो दैट्स व्हाट इट्स रिटन फर्स्ट वन arteriosclerosis so if I read the cause of impairment middle वाला आप देखो due to excessive calcification the arterial wall loses elasticity and thickens resulting in decrease of rhythmicity okay so before this is another thing I think some of us may be from commerce background or from humanity background so just to let you know that हमारी जो blood vessels होती हैं ऑब्वियसली वो बचपन से ही होती हैं आई मीन वी आर ऑल बॉर्न विद द ब्लड वेसल्स एंड जब हम बॉर्न होते हैं तो उसमें बिल्कुल भी फैट की डिपॉजिशन नहीं होती है वो सब हमारी बैड हैबिट्स की वजह से लाइफस्टाइल एरर्स की वजह से बैड डाइट की वजह से बाद में धीरे धीरे होती है सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट children also have very narrow arteries no I mean they are very small so जितना छोटा बच्चा है उसकी उतनी narrow artery होगी जैसे जैसे बड़े होते जाते हैं the artery size also keeps increasing and the lumen also increases ideally right if there is no fat deposition so these arteries so you know that like if we try to climb suppose you're 45 years of age and you are trying to go high up in on the 8th or the 9th floor so when you climb the stairs by the time you come to the 4th floor you will see that you are extremely breathless and you are not able to take a single step extra and you need to stop there and catch up with your breath right so that's because our oxygen supply is getting affected because as a 45-year-old you've had so many depositions of fatty streaks in your arteries that आपके blood को flow होने की जगह ही नहीं बचती है ठीक है ये normal phenomena होता है हम सबकी body में that you know some people are more healthier and they are more fitter they will not have too many fatty streaks but people who are sedentary lifestyle who don't work out at all and who eat too much who are also obese or overweight and they've been eating all sorts of wrong things for them the lumen will be even lesser तो बिल्कुल जगह नहीं होती है ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई की तो अब आप बिकॉज यू क्लाइंबिंग स्टेयर्स सो योर बॉडी नीड्स मोर ऑक्सीजन टू प्रोड्यूस एटीपीज right because oxygen only produces ATPs right if you remember that oxygen goes in your cells combines with the glucose which was there in your diet this glucose combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide water and ATPs if you remember what happens in the cells right so if I'm sounding very brash to people who have joined us for the first time so what I'd mentioned was no that oxygen gets supplied to each and every cell of your body so in each and every cell of your body it is not just oxygen but also glucose that gets supplied and you know the main function of glucose is to supply energy so this glucose which you have eaten from the diet is actually gone into your cells through the blood only and this glucose in the cells will combine with the oxygen that we are talking about right now so glucose plus oxygen gives rise to CO2 that's carbon dioxide which we are going to expel out and water that's H2O plus ATPs. So ATP is the energy currency of the body. So obviously when you're climbing stairs, you need more ATPs, right? More energy is required when you're climbing stairs. Almost 9 kilocalories per minute, you know, so much. Normally walk करते हैं तो 3 to 4 kilocalories per minute consume होती है. जब हम सीढ़ियाँ चढ़ते हैं और जब swimming करते हैं, दो चीज़ जो बहुत taxing होती है body के लिए, तो 9 kilocalories per minute हम use कर रहे होते हैं. तो उसके लिए obviously the ATP production will be doubled up so to produce ATPs obviously you need more glucose and more oxygen so to get that more oxygen your heart starts pumping in much faster so that it can pump in more amount of oxygen through the process that we have just पिछली वाली slide में जो हमने 4 chambers वाला किया था तो oxygenated blood हमको faster speed पे चाहिए होता है because हमको ज़्यादा ATPs produce करनी है क्योंकि आप सीढ़ियाँ चढ़ रहे हो so that does not happen. So the demand and supply में बहुत gap आ जाता है. Your body is demanding oxygen, but because your arteries are so blocked with the fat that it's not able to supply so much oxygen. So there is a gap in demand and supply. Too much demand, but supply is not happening at that pace, which leads us to breathlessness, चक्कर आना, and extreme fatigue at that point of time. और आपको सीढ़ियों पे रुक के सांस catch up करना पड़ेगा. You know, like you have to stop there on the 4th floor or the 5th floor till where you have managed, and then you have to kind of stop there and catch up with your breath. And in babies that doesn't happen. They also, if they can climb all 10 floors, running in one go without stopping at any floor, only because they have narrower arteries, but they do not have fatty streaks. At that age, we don't have fatty streaks. And, the way God has made our arteries and veins is like they're very elastic, like a rubber band, the walls of the arteries, okay? So they're so much like a rubber band. So when that children are running around, so fast and they don't get tired, and, you want to rest and you want to sleep, but kids don't. They don't want to take a rest and they keep playing and they keep running around these days. As it is, kids are so hyperactive. So in their body, how it happens is when they're also running around, their oxygen demand is going to increase the way it does in our body also. But in their body, the oxygen में सप्लाई में गैप नहीं आता है. डिमांड होते उतना ही सप्लाई हो जाता है, बिकॉज मोर ऑक्सीजन चाहिए तो उनके आर्टरीज ब्रॉड हो जाते हैं, बिकॉज इलास्टिसिटी होता है वॉल में. So they become very broad. So it increases the lumen automatically because body realizes that more amount of blood needs to gush in because the child is playing very hard game, like very, high energy consuming game. So that elasticity की वजह से more amount of oxygen, that's more amount of blood will rush to the area, whatever area is exercising, the legs or whatever. Or if they're playing football, it will be legs and the arms and it will be the whole body. So, so that's what I'm trying to say, that elasticity gets lost when your walls are getting calcified. Now that you're 45-year-old, now your body, like after the age of 30, you started losing your elasticity, especially if you are a bad lifestyle person and a bad diet person, okay? If you've not been having a good diet or if you've not been having a good lifestyle. So now you will see that now you will not be able to run, you'll have to hold your breath, you'll have to stop and catch up. If you're running in a park, you will have to want to sit on a bench for a bit, or you will have to slow down your treadmill if you're on a treadmill, or if you're doing your leg raises, you're doing it for a while. After a while, you'll feel such a bad kind of, like exhaustion that you will have to stop your leg raises for a while and, normalize your heartbeat. Because हमारी body में हमारी walls का calcification हो गया है, जिसकी वजह से रिदमिसिटी चली गई है. अब वो नहीं चौड़ा होगा जब आप भागोगे दौड़ोगे. बच्चे की बॉडी में ये नहीं हो रहा है, ठीक है? तो यही what I'm trying to explain, that is arteriosclerosis, that is calcification of the wall so that the rhythmicity and the elasticity is lost, is what it's written here. So yeah, that's arteriosclerosis. Let us go to the next disease of the heart, which is called cardiac arrhythmia. So we all know that in 1 minute, your heart should beat 70 to 80 times. Okay, like धक जो होता है, ये 70 to 80 times होना चाहिए, normal है 70 to 80 times. Ideally 76 to 78 precisely normal होता है, but it is all right to go a little below and a little above. So 70 to 80 is what we call that your heart beats 70 to 80 times per minute. And that's called cardiac arrhythmia. So cardiac arrhythmia means that skipping of the heartbeat. At times it is only 40, the next minute it is 80, the next minute it goes 90, then it again falls down to 65, and then the next minute again it becomes 60. That means very erratic heartbeat, कभी तेज हो जाती है, कभी धीमी हो जाती है, कोई consistency नहीं है. Normally तो consistency नहीं, अगर आप run कर रहे हो तो नहीं होगा. Like obviously if you're sitting at one place, your heart is beating only 72 times to 76 times per minute. But obviously if you're climbing stairs, it will exceed even 120, and especially if you're running or swimming, it will exceed even 150 and 160. That's very normal. Like when I run on a treadmill, so my gym treadmill, of course we are not going to the gym these days, but the gym treadmill tells you that what is your heartbeat going on. So since I monitor my heartbeat and I try to take it to 80% of the MHR every day, so I monitor it and I see that it should reach 160 beats per minute every day. That's like my individual target. So we all can have our own targets. So for that I monitor my heartbeat always when I'm running on a treadmill. So like that. So it will obviously, and if you go faster on the treadmill, if you go to 9 kilometers per hour, अगर 9 का button दबाते हो तो आप देखोगे it will go only even till 180 it can go. But if you're just sleeping, it can fall down to even 70, which is normal. But एक जगह बैठे बैठे, if somebody is having a heartbeat of 50, then 40, then 70, then 80, that means there is no consistency in your heartbeat, and this disease is called cardiac arrhythmia. So now we go to the next one, bradycardia and tachycardia. This again is becoming a very common problem when you start your diet consistency. You will come across a lot of people who are going to come and tell you that, ma'am, sir, I suffer from bradycardia or I have a problem of tachycardia. So you should know precisely what this means. First we'll talk about bradycardia. So bradycardia means that मैंने आपको ये बताया ना, normal heartbeat 70 to 80 होनी चाहिए. Bradycardia वो condition होती है जब आपकी heartbeat goes below 60 and consistently it is below 60. That is an abnormal condition. That means your heart is not functioning optimally and there is some problem in the heart, and because of slow beating of the heart, obviously the supply of oxygenated blood will also get affected. No, it's going to slow down. So that condition is called bradycardia. And on the contrary, the other condition is called tachycardia, when the heartbeat exceeds 100 beats per minute. Okay, when it goes above 100. So it is just to let you know that more muscular your body, lesser is your heartbeat, and more fat weight you have, more is going to be your heartbeat. So a male body is more leaner, like they have more muscles compared to the females. So males के केस में heartbeat अगर 65 भी हो जाती है तो हमें घबराने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं होती है, because उनकी heartbeat हमेशा towards the lower side रहेगी. और जितने पतले males होते हैं, like अगर fat weight कम होता है उनका, तो उतना ही आप देखोगे कि heartbeat is going to be lesser. So that's considered to be normal. But in females you will see that there are females जिनमें 85 भी बहुत normal होता है. I mean otherwise तो 85 is like pretty high, because 78 के ऊपर तो नहीं होती है normally heartbeat लोगों की, लेकिन females के केस में 90 तक भी हम normal consider करते हैं. So मतलब वो घबराने का बात नहीं होती है, like 90 भी होती है तो it's like okay, and especially if the female has more fat weight तो 90 को normal consider करते हैं. So but then anything which is above 100 is considered to be abnormal, and it is called a disease called tachycardia. So since I told you about the fat weight and lean weight, so it also means that if somebody is like say someone like me or someone like all of you who go to the gym on a regular basis and who are very regular with your morning walks or exercise and yoga, so when we do that kind of a workout, then we see like, so my heartbeat also stays at 60, sometimes it goes even to 58, and that's because I have only 8 kilos of fat in my body. So it's mostly muscles. I mean, whenever I take my BCA, I see that my mostly body is like very, very muscular. So because of which the heartbeat goes down to 60. So it is very normal. I mean, there's nothing to fear. Just telling you so that you don't scare people, and you should actually know that when you send your patients to the gym and when they start making more muscles and reducing their fat, and then you also do that when you decide that you're going to lose your fat weight. So you start with a very strict regime of working out on a daily basis, and you put yourselves on a diet, and then you'll see that after about 3 months when you've lost weight, you will see that your normal heart rate also starts coming down. And earlier when your heart was beating 80 times per minute, now it has come down to maybe 70. So there's nothing to fear in that. That's very normal. जैसे जैसे fat weight कम होता जाता है वैसे वैसे आपकी heart beat भी कम होती जाएगी. और अगर आपको हार्ट बीट अपना मेजर करना है तो उसका सबसे अच्छा तरीका होता है कि आप अपनी कैरोटिड आर्टरी से करें. So this is where if you can see my image, see my picture on your screen, okay? So these are the carotid arteries. यहाँ पे हाथ रखो आप अपना, और थोड़ा सा हियर इस जगह पे these two fingers, okay? So put your fingers here and just press it lightly. थोड़ा सा upper neck पे press it lightly. You will feel your heartbeats here. This is how we monitor heartbeat for our patients also. हम उनके दिल पे हाथ नहीं रखते हैं, ठीक है? और हम उनके wrist पे भी हाथ नहीं रखते हैं. Wrist से भी आपको पता लग जाता है heartbeat. लेकिन हमारे clients जो आते हैं, just to let you know between you and us, we don't have to discuss with anybody that because हमारे clients बहुत obese होते हैं ना, तो उनका wrist बहुत fat होता है, तो उसमें आपको heartbeat नहीं मिलेगा, and we look like stupid when we are trying to trace the heartbeat and we are not getting it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I never recommend to check heartbeat from the wrist or by keeping the hand on anybody's heart. You can do it with a stethoscope if you want to, if you know how to use it effectively. Don't muffle up in front of the patients. कोई भी ऐसा काम नहीं करो जहाँ पे आप sloppy लगो अपने clients के सामने, ठीक है? जिस चीज के बारे में sure होते हो हमेशा वही करना चाहिए. So the best way to monitor heartbeat is always through carotid artery. CAROTID. यहाँ से आप देखा करो अपनी हार्ट बीट. आप भी अपनी चेक कर सकते हो अगर आपको मालूम करना है आपकी कितनी हार्ट बीट है. और आप देखना जैसे जैसे आप वेट लॉस करोगे and as you get fitter, your heartbeat will start coming down gradually. So yeah, any heartbeat which is below 60 is called bradycardia. Any heartbeat which is above 100 is called tachycardia. Yeah. So now we'll talk about ischemia or the ischemic diseases. So ischemia basically means that obviously when there is a lot of deposition of fatty streaks that have happened in your arteries, the lumen will reduce and the space through which the blood is flowing is also going to be lesser. तो अब blood को flow करने के लिए जगह ही नहीं मिल रही है क्योंकि दोनों side artery के walls पे मतलब arteries like you can say it is circular, पूरे जगह पे इतना ज्यादा येलो फैट की डिपोजिशन हो गई है, स्पेस ही नहीं बचती है आर्टरी में बिल्कुल भी, यू नो कि उतनी जगह की ब्लड को बहुत फास्ट ट्रैवल करवाए. सो उसकी वजह से ब्लड फ्लो कम हो जाता है. ऑब्वियसली कम अमाउंट ऑफ ब्लड इज नाउ फ्लोइंग एंड ऑब्वियसली ब्लड इज द कैरियर ऑफ ऑक्सीजन एंड न्यूट्रिएंट्स. सो नाउ ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई कम हो जाती है, जिसको बोलते हैं condition of ischemia. Okay, so whenever less oxygen supply happens because of the fatty deposits in your arteries, the condition is known as ischemia. Now the next condition, suppose your patient comes and tell you कि मुझे ischemia की problem है. ischemia की problem है इसका मतलब है कि already test हो चुका है कि उनके heart उनके जो blood vessels है उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा fat deposition है जिसकी वजह से उनका हमेशा सांस चढ़ेगा. सांस चढ़ना मतलब you are breathless mostly and you know like you feel like you want to sit and you want to kind of just inhale a lot of oxygen, you know that condition. जब हमेशा सांस चढ़ी रहती है, आप 4 सीढ़ियां चढ़ोगे आप थक जाओगे, मतलब इतना भी ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई ठीक से नहीं होता है बॉडी में. So that is a condition which is like pretty serious because ischemia normally angina को lead करता है और angina heart attack को. So yeah, ischemia is what? I mean, it basically reduction of the blood flow, which further leads to improper oxygen transfer because of the reduction in the lumen of the artery. Now we'll go to angina. So whenever we've spoken about angina, आपने लोगों से भी सुना होगा, it basically means angina का pain बोलते हैं ना, angina pain. Angina pain मतलब heart में दर्द होना because of very less supply of oxygen. ओके तो हार्ट पे बहुत प्रेशर पड़ता है बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली हार्ट उतना सप्लाई ही नहीं कर पा रहा है जिस हिसाब से ऑक्सीजन चाहिए होती है ऑर्गन को. सो इट कॉजेस पेन इन द हार्ट एंड इट विल नॉट जस्ट बी लाइक आई वांट टू शो यू अ स्लाइड जो बहुत बाद में एंजाइना की. 1 सेकेंड. See this slide here, this is angina pain. Okay, so angina originates from the heart, it will originate from here. Okay, and this pain radiates. So जब भी किसी को इस जगह पे दर्द हो रहा होता है, देन इट इज अ साइन दैट यहाँ पे ना ऐसा फील होता है एज इफ आपको बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग एसिडिटी हो रही है एंड टाइटनेस इन द चेस्ट। ओके, टाइटनेस मतलब ऐसे लगता है सिकुड़ रहा है सब कुछ, तो वो इसका मतलब है। हार्ट अटैक हमेशा आने के पहले 100 times बता देता है that a major heart attack is going to come, but men generally ignore it thinking that it is a normal pain or that they have slept in a wrong way. Sometimes वो पिलो गलत रखने से भी हाथों में दर्द हो जाती है, उनको ऐसा लगता है कि इसलिए। बट ये जो पेन है आप देखो, it is not just here, it is radiating here, it is radiating on your shoulders here, it is going till your ears, coming till your chin, एंड अभी ये बॉडी के पीछे का मैंने नहीं बताया है, तो इतना जो एरिया है ये बॉडी के जो पीछे वाला होता है ना, बैक ऑफ द शोल्डर ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ योर बॉडी, दैट गेट्स अफेक्टेड. It will radiate down here, it will go till your ring finger. इसीलिए रिंग को हार्ट, शादी होती है तो हम रिंग फिंगर में रिंग डालते हैं ना, बिकॉज ये वाली जो फिंगर होती है ये सीधे दिल तक पहुंचती है, इसलिए हम रिंग इसमें पहनते हैं. So this whole area actually gets affected and this pain radiates. Not just, I mean, people don't take this pain very seriously. Whenever any high cholesterol patient or a high blood pressure patient, when they have this problem of pain that happens in this region, entire this region, it has to be taken seriously and they should immediately go for ECG. ओके, ECG पे पता लग जाता है कि हार्ट इज फंक्शनिंग नॉर्मली और एबनॉर्मली, और उसके बाद अकॉर्डिंगली the tests are done, and if a stent is required, a stent may be put, or a cardiac bypass surgery or whatever is required at that point of time needs to be done, and it can save a person's life that way. So yeah, coming back to our old slide. Yeah, this is angina. So that was angina pectoris or the angina pain. So this is what it says. Cause of impairment is this condition causes pain in the heart which radiates down on the left side. Okay, so it can be left ear, it can be left neck, it can be left upper back, it can be left shoulder, it can be left arm, it can be below the elbows. Okay, anywhere it happens. In different patients I have seen this pain come at different areas, and you know what men do, they generally have something like antacid और जो एसिडिटी की जितनी भी मेडिसिन होती हैं वो सब ले लेते हैं और इस पेन को इग्नोर करते हैं, और ये पेन बहुत बार आता है, बहुत दिनों तक, before finally the final heart, the massive cardiac arrest happens. Okay, so heart attack, like in fact anything in the body gives a signal. We just have to catch it, and take it seriously. And when the first and second time when it happens, then diet alone can take care of it, because if we put ourselves on a high fiber diet, green, yellow and red vegetables and fruits, the plaque or the fatty streaks which are deposited in your arteries, they start depleting. वो अपने आप नीचे मतलब झड़ने लग जाते हैं. झड़ने लग जाने से मेरा मतलब, sorry, I'm using a very colloquial language. So what happens?